child rights activist on this matter. Mr. Appiah, good evening. Thank you very much for your time. Hello.
Hello.
Good evening to you, sir.
Good evening.
This is pure wickedness, if you ask me. That's what I will say. You think so?
Exactly the point. And looking at a series of events, that's the kind of description that you can give to it.
How do we deal with such a thing? Because continuously, Mr. Appiah, we've seen abuses on children day in, day out. How do we deal with this?
I think that we should not just look at abuse against children as a domestic issue. And when there is an arrest or there is an identification of such matter, we think that the right procedures must be followed so that those who commit such offenses are dealt with properly. In most cases, we don't see any kind of action taken in respect to how the system will take care of those who commit such offense. So people think that they can just do anything against children and go scot-free. And that, for me, is what is also giving them that kind of empowerment, to be able to know that you are causing harm to a child, but you feel that you will not be arrested, or nobody will talk about the issue in a manner that would bring some kind of justice to the child. So people feel that they can just do whatever they want to do with children. And that is where, for me, as a country, we should carefully look at it and see how best we can place children in the care of other people who we think that do have the capacity to do that. Because the interest of the state in matters of children it's a matter of capacity and what we can do to protect their best interest. So if any person commits any offense that would derail that kind of vision that the state is trying to put in place for the welfare of children, then it means that the state must also deal with the person appropriately. And that, for me, is what we are lacking. So for that matter, people think that they can do anything at all to children, and they will not be caught.
Mr. Appiah, what will make a stepmother pour hot water on the private part of a 3-year-old girl?
Well, there are quite a lot of things that can result into that. And no matter how the state of the mind of the person is, there are certain things that when you go beyond that, it brings about two things. One has to do whether you have a psychological issue or you feel that emotionally you are not fit to provide care for the child. So it also depends on the capacity of the person providing the care, and then also whether within your psychologically whether you have any kind of impairment that would make you behave that way. Because in the normal behavior of any ordinary woman or any ordinary human being, once you go beyond a certain measure, then it means that we need to interrogate to find out whether you have the capacity to do that. And that, for me, is what sometimes leads to some of these things. Because there are a number of cases that come to us, and when we do the investigation, it points to the fact that, yes, one, such women are not ready to provide care for other children, or they themselves do have some kind of psychological issues.
Do you think over the years we have not punished, persons who commit crime against children? That is why we often see, these abuses on children over and over and over again.
Yeah, we have not. If we really want to do justice, move to most of the police stations and see how we handle issues related to children when they are reported, and how it's been treated, and even move to communities to see how our chief justice system is handling issues that relates to children. Somebody can just defile a child, and then the case will go to the family head, and because they want to protect the image of the family, they don't want to bring it out. It goes to the chief's palace. The chief would also sit in council with the elders to just bring some kind of charges against the person, and the person pays it, and that ends it. But as to how the child should be catered for, the system do not really show interest in that. That is why people think that they can just do some of these things. And for me, we need to move beyond that, because when it happens that way, it shows a contradiction in our laws and what exactly we think about children. The law is so apt on what exactly the state wants for the welfare of children. But when it comes to practice, we do the opposite. And that, for me, raises a whole lot of issues as to whether we are even ready to protect our children. And even if you are ready, do we have the mindset to be able to move to a step further to make sure that we protect our children?
The laws are there, as you mentioned, but I think it's stiffer enough for persons who
Yes, our laws are so strong. If you pick Ghana law in relation to the welfare of children, we have one of the best in the sub-region, and the way and manner we have carefully crafted it in such a way that under no circumstances should a child face some of these kind of abuses and all that. So if you are not seeing the reality of the law on the ground, then it means that there's something wrong. It basically has to do with implementation, and that for me is what we have to look at. As for the punitive things, they are there. Because if you defile a child now and you go to the police station or you go to court, that is where you see how the system will handle it. But it's sometimes a bit difficult for you to find some of these issues within the mainstream so that the state can also determine the way and manner they want to deal with it and all that. But we don't get that opportunity to get to that level. So people think that they will use the community-based systems to resolve matters that relate to children. So people are still empowered to think that they can still go ahead and do all manner of things against children. And that is where we are now as a country.
You think we need the involvement of all in this drive?
It is awareness that we need to create. And for the state to be very strong, we need to tell people that once you commit offense against a child, it's a state affair. It's no longer about the family. It's no longer about the community. It's a state affair. Because the care of children is not in the hands of any other. In fact, it is a law that has given parents the power to be able to provide care for their children. And that has been acknowledged in the law. And where there's a defect, even within the family system, the law requires to step in to make sure that they correct all the anomalies. And if the state cannot correct that, the state will demand the child and place the child under a certain care that the best interest of the child be protected. So I don't see why people think that the responsibility of providing care to children is only within the family system. The state has a major responsibility to take respect to that. So if families are not fit to provide care, the state should begin to redefine with the way and manner we can provide care for our children. Otherwise, we are growing, we are raising children, we are nurturing children, we are investing in them in a way that they will carry psychological issues into the future, and the cost that the state is going to bear, it will be very difficult for us to get remedy to it. So we need to deal with it now and then ensure that people have capacity to provide care for children. If not, then we need to find ways and means to be able to protect our children.
Zabia, before I let you go, you've seen the picture of this little girl. You think that there's hope?
It's terrible, and I cannot imagine a woman, to take such a child through that process. And for me, and sometimes it's a bit difficult for us to also look at some of these images and say that it's appropriate where it has been placed and all that. But whatever it is, I think that the bottom issue is that we need to protect our children, whichever form that we need to do it. As a country, we need to do that. So for me, for somebody to commit such offense, I don't think that we should just leave it on the surface to think that it's only arrest that can solve the issue. I think that the state must move further to interrogate the minds of the person and to know whether if there's something wrong with the person, then we can determine whether that family even have the capacity to provide care for the child. If not, the state should think of other alternative for the child.
Medically, it can be fixed?
Certainly. You see, one thing is when you even look at our laws, for instance, you pick the Children's Act, the Juvenile Justice Act, one primary thing that the law is interested in is the issuance of a social inquiry report. And that helps you to know the state of the family and whether or not they do have the capacity to do that. So in most cases, you see that though the court will say that it is just an advisory position to them, but most of them rely on it to make their judgment. So it shows you how important the social inquiry report is. And if you are able to carry a social inquiry report on some of these families to be able to determine their state, then we will not even wait for issues to happen to children before we go to their rescue. We may decide that we want to carry out maybe a periodic visit to find out how they are treating children and all that. And that is the essence of we as a country moving to say that we want to have a welfare system. And any welfare system the work of the social welfare officer is critical, and you cannot take it for granted. So these are things that we need to do, because we believe that we are a welfare state, but our actions and our systems do not speak to the same things as to whether we are taking care of the aged, we are taking care of our children, we are taking care of young people and all that. So all these things are things that people watch and say that, well, the system is not active, so I can do whatever I want to do. But I feel that the state must begin to redefine its position, and if you want to be a welfare state, then practice all the characteristics that comes with it, so that we can have a society that is fit for purpose. Otherwise, we may throw in social investment, and we will not get the kind of result. That is why when you look at the LIP program, you look at the free SHS policy, you look at the capitation grant, and all social policies that we have, almost about 80 to 90% of it is targeting children. So if they go through all that as an investment that you are making, and somebody is there causing harm to the psychological makeup and the physical makeup of children, then what kind of investments are we making? So the state should also be interested in making sure that whoever I'm making investment in, I should also take steps to give them protection so that nobody will take advantage of them. That is how a social welfare system fit for purpose supposed to behave. But you throw in monies and you don't even care whatever is happening to our children, and that ends it. And you account that you have given X amount to social welfare system in our country. It doesn't work like that. We should also be interested in the end results.
Mr. Appiah, thank you. Thank you very much for your time. Bright Appiah is the Executive Director of Child Rights International, speaking to us on this matter. Let's go on to the other phone and speak to Enoch Derry. He's the program's